A warm welcome back to the channel. My name is Tom and you're watching Get Nuanced. So, in this video, I'm going to be talking about one of the most important figures in Roman history. And in fact, this is one of the most important yet generally underrated individuals whom really, in the grand scheme of things, considering his contributions towards the preservation of the ancient Greco-Roman world, he really isn't as famous as that sort of accomplishment would have probably should have merited. So, who am I talking about? I am not talking about the founder of the Roman Empire and the Principate, Augustus, who definitely had his own contributions towards making Rome what it is now known as to this day. It is not Constantine, whom founded the new Rome on the banks of the Bosphorus, which would become the city of Constantine, aka Constantinople. Nor am I talking about Justinian, who is actually a figure that would come after this one, whom is probably one of the most remembered individuals and Roman emperors, and possibly what many historians consider one of the last truly Roman emperors, as many of his successors are attacked with the unflattering historiographical term Byzantine. So, who am I talking about? I'm sure you probably have already guessed, because if you can read, you see the title below. I'm talking about Flavius Anthemius, the not Roman emperor, but Praetorian Prefect of the East, whom was the essential regent and de facto leader of the Roman world when Theodosius II, the Roman emperor whom was the son of another Roman emperor, Arcadius, whom was in fact the son of Theodosius I. So, Flavius Anthemius served as the Praetorian Prefect of the East under Arcadius, and at the end of Arcadius's reign, he pretty much was the main mind behind the operations and general administration of the eastern half of the Roman Empire, which was gradually but surely becoming more Byzantine, or what we would call and refer to as Byzantine nowadays. However, Theodosius II was the son of Arcadius, and when Arcadius died, beforehand he entrusted the guardianship of the young emperor, whom was not old enough yet to rule in his own right because he was still a child. Flavius Anthemius was given this incredible responsibility, and he would prove to be incredibly competent. And some among him, even his contemporaries, would say that he honored the office of Praetorian Prefect more than the office was an honor to him, which is not an understatement. If anything, it actually is an understatement. My bad. But to really get into the character of Anthemius, he was one of the last and most competent individuals in the late Roman Empire, and his foresight would preserve the eastern half of the Roman Empire, which would be referred to today as the Byzantine Empire by scholars in the West. And how did he do that? Well, in his, I think, 13 or 14 years as the Regent and Praetorian Prefect of the East under Theodosius II, he oversaw the building of the Theodosian Walls. These would become the famous walls of Constantinople, which would embody and symbolize the Roman Empire and the Byzantine Empire as they protected the imperial capital from land attacks. And due to its unique geography on the southeastern edge of the Balkans in Eastern Europe, it would prove that these fortifications would allow the eastern half of the Roman Empire to persist long after the 476 and 480, when the last Western Roman emperors would have abdicated. It wouldn't actually be until 1453 when these walls would finally give way, and this would only be at the hands of the mightiest cannon under an overwhelming force of Ottoman troops under one of their greatest rulers, Mehmed II, by the time when Constantinople was literally a city-state and the last vestige of this Roman Empire. But let's rewind back now, well over 1,000 years now to this point. Actually, about 900 years-ish, which this was around the 400s. And this actually, yes, over 1,000 years, I'm pretty sure, which is impressive to think about. These walls lasted a millennia, and they were built to fortify further Constantinople. Originally, when Constantinople was founded in 330 BC, or inaugurated by its namesake, Constantine the Great, Emperor Constantine built his own set of Constantinian walls. But at the time, he greatly underestimated the population growth of the city as it became the main imperial residence of the Roman and later Eastern Roman Caesars and Augusti. But beyond the wall itself, Anthemius actually which despite the fact that this wall, I think, would be the hallmark of his career, he would also prove to be a competent administrator, being able to tactfully and with great, I guess, skill, be able to do diplomacy with the Sassanids and avoid any sort of disaster under his rulership, as he was the regent for Theodosius II. And beyond that, the descendants of Anthemius, actually, I think his great-grandson, maybe I'm mistaken, would actually become one of the last of the Western Roman emperors, and actually the last Western Roman emperor which wasn't the puppet of a barbarian king or some breakaway aristocrat in the case of Orestes and Romulus Augustulus. But I think, just considering how important Anthemius's contributions were, these walls would survive and ensure that during the final wars between the Sassanids and the Byzantines between 602 and 628, that Constantinople would be able to hold out, and the Emperor Heraclius would be able to go and make the Battle of Nineveh in 627, 628 possible. He would be able to leave the capital without his presence, which normally under a siege of a capital, the leader would be there, but these walls would be so formidable that they would actually serve as a bulwark, not only against the Avars and the Sassanids during the siege, and I think the late 620s, but as well, it would also prevent the Muslim Arabs and many other forces from the next 1,000 years since they would be built from being able to break into the city and end the Roman Empire, which it would only occur the first time in 1204 when the treacherous crusaders of the Fourth Crusade were able to, through the weakness and internal strife of the empire, break in and establish the really flimsy Latin Empire. And afterwards, it would only be due to these centuries of unfortunate events, including the defeat at the Battle of Manzikert prior and after the creation of the Ottoman Beylik, which would allow the Byzantine Empire to finally fall in 1453, when even these great walls that Anthemius would build under his foresight, which really were a hallmark of the Greco-Roman world and preserved Greco-Roman culture for over 1,000 years, it would only be then that even despite these walls shielding the Roman Empire, that they would finally give way, and that the empire that they protected, which was no more than just a city-state, unfortunately, due to not having as great of leaders as Anthemius coming to guide it. I mean, some of the rulers after him, obviously, to be fair, were pretty decent, but it wouldn't have been anything that they could have stopped the eventual outcome of the empire. However, I think to downplay the contributions of Anthemius as I haven't actually found a single YouTuber who has done an individual video on them yet. So I figured that I might as well. But to really put things into perspective and drive it home, Flavius Anthemius was really one of the most important figures if you think about it. If he didn't build those walls, there would have been the Persians or even the Arabs being able to break into the city. And if it wasn't for him, these walls really never would have been built. By the time these threats that I've just mentioned were happening, the Eastern Roman Empire, due to the Arab conquest, due to the defeat at Manzikert and the eventual migration of the Turks to create what eventually would become modern-day Turkey, at those times, at those critical junctures, the material resources of the empire were nothing like what they were during the Regency and tenure of Anthemius as Praetorian Prefect of the East. At that time, when Anthemius was still around, Rome was still truly an empire. It still truly was the superpower and the hegemon of the Mediterranean. Later, after the exhausted treasury due to Justinian's reconquest, the Justinianic plague and the recurring plagues that happened after, the conquest and loss of the territories, and which included the rich provinces of the Near East and the Levant, and Egypt as well. There weren't the resources that would have been able brought to bear to create these walls. Even if a future leader were to have maybe theorized or thought that they would be good to come up with. Hell, if Anthemius didn't build these walls, I think there might have not even have been a conflict of those kinds, because the Huns, shortly after Anthemius, only due to these walls, did not break into Constantinople. And I mean that literally. There was an earthquake that happened prior, and on top of that, the Huns and their composite crossbow archers that could ride on their horses were proving to have been a force that could be reckoned with, that not only the walls really prevented that from, wrecking the empire. So yeah, that's just something to consider. I figured, talk about another person in Roman history I think deserves a lot more attention. And I'm curious to hear what you guys think. I mean, I think he's actually pretty cool, but I guess you could probably tell that I did create a pretty flattering video and perspective of him in this video, of course. So anyways, let me know what you guys think. Give me a follow on social media. Subscribe if you enjoyed this channel and the content that I just provided. And I will catch you guys in the next video I make real soon. For now, peace out.